minutes before the hour. Tom Hartman here with you. And Kevin Camps, the radioactive waste watchdog at beyondnuclear.org, is on the line with us. Kevin, welcome back to the program.
Thanks so much, Tom.
The Nuclear Regulatory Agency of the country of Japan today, I believe, or maybe it was yesterday, raised the nuclear alert. You can tell us all what the language is, but they kicked this thing up from a 1 to a 3. What's at Fukushima? What's the significance of this? What's going on?
Yeah, the International Atomic Energy Agency, which is an agency of the United Nations. Supposed nuclear safety regulator, but it's a nuclear power promoter by mandate, has this International Nuclear Event Scale, INES. It's got 7 stages on it. And this leak that just happened from these storage tanks at Fukushima Daiichi, originally the Japan Nuclear Regulation Authority was going to make it a 1, which officially is technically called an anomaly. Well, just in the last 24 hours, as you said, they're now talking a 3, which is a serious incident, and that's a 100-fold increase in severity.
Right.
And that is regarded as serious. And 7 is the highest rung on this ladder, which is a global catastrophe, in my words. And only Chernobyl and Fukushima Daiichi have reached the 7th rung on this scale. But as a colleague, John LaForge with Nukewatch in Wisconsin, put it back at the time, 2.5 years ago, well, there were 3 meltdowns and 4 explosions at Fukushima Daiichi. So isn't that at least a 3 times 7 or a 21 on this scale? So this latest leak of 300 tons of highly radioactive water into the soil, flowing now with the groundwater towards the ocean, you know, they call it a 3, but, you know, the ocean is just getting hammered at Fukushima.
Is this a logarithmic scale, the way the Richter scale is?
Yes, it is. Each rung on the ladder is 10 times more serious.
Wow. So going from 1 to 2 isn't doubling it, it's increasing it 10-fold, and going from 2 to 3 is increasing it 100-fold from the 1, or 10-fold from the 2.
And the Nuclear Regulation Authority has admitted, you know, a 100-fold increase in the seriousness.
Why has this not been called a 7?
Well, you know, the 7 might be if another earthquake hits the site, and they have something like 262 of these giant tanks, the same design, the same size as the one that just leaked.
So let's just recap this. Out of these 262 tanks, one of them just leaked. Just leaked, what, yesterday, last week? How big is the tank? Where's the tank?
In the last day or two, they've admitted to this latest leak, and it's 300 tons of highly radioactive water. It's giving off a dose rate of 10 rem per hour, and the way they discovered the leak were puddles on the ground giving off 10 rem per hour. You could get a worker dose, which is a high thing, within 5 hours, and you could get a fatal dose just standing next to a 5 rem puddle, you know, after a certain amount of time.
Wow. And a rem, of course, is 1,000. I mean, there's 1,000. Is it 1,000 millirems or 1,000,000 millirems in a rem? 1,000.
1,000 millirem make 1 rem, and workers
and 1,000,000
internationally are limited to 2 rem per year.
Wow.
Members of the public to a mere 100 millirem per year under normal circumstances. So this thing is giving off 5 rem per hour, I think is the figure.
So that's pretty much the level of radioactivity that the core material itself would have, isn't it?
Sorry, I misspoke. 10 rem per hour from this puddle of water on the ground. No, if you get into the core material, I mean, you're talking just unimaginable dose rates. You're talking, I don't even know if it's millions of rems per hour.
Wow.
But that's an instant. If you were to get close to the cores without radiation shielding, you would be dead within a second.
Wow. Wow.
From gamma radiation.
What is the... so far, I mean, we've had a lot of workers, or Japan has had a lot of workers exposed to this. Has anybody disclosed the consequences of this? Do we know how many people have been directly affected by the Fukushima meltdown?
Well, even the Japanese government now admits that 10,000 Fukushima Daiichi workers will qualify really for lifetime coverage, at least health checkups and perhaps even compensation, because they've exposed themselves, they've been exposed to enough radiation dose to be at risk of leukemia. And there's other categories, probably thousands of Fukushima Daiichi workers are going to qualify for it. But there have been probably 100,000 workers on that site, all exposed to varying levels of radioactivity. So again, they're going to make it difficult for workers to qualify for those benefits, unfortunately.
What about the families who lived in this neighborhood when the plant went down and there was all that initial radiation that the government was pretending wasn't there?
Well, there's still 150,000 or more nuclear refugees scattered all over Japan, and they've left for other countries as well. And some of the startling, alarming news that's just coming out yet again is childhood thyroid cancer, which is a very rare disease. In fact, most years there are 0 cases in 100,000 in Japan, and it looks like those numbers, at least in Fukushima Prefecture, are increasing among children and adolescents that were exposed to the radioactive iodine-131, which is a vicious poison that attacks the human thyroid gland.
Right, right, and this is terrible. So, Kevin, what can they do? They've got these buildings that are tottering. They're on an earthquake fault zone. At the top of these 5, 10-story buildings, they've got these giant pools filled with radioactive material. Rather than at ground level, and what's next?
Well, Tokyo Electric is admitting it's beyond their coping ability. They're asking for international assistance at long last. The Japanese government, just in the last couple of weeks, has said we're going to step in. This is under, a pro-nuclear Prime Minister Abe.
Yeah.
So finally, there's some recognition that this is just out of control. And you mentioned, why not a level 7? Well, if a big earthquake hits that site and hundreds of these containers were to let loose the hundreds of thousands of tons of highly radioactive water they contain, I think that might certainly qualify as a level 7.
How are they getting all these containers there? They're just all over Japan. They're building, 100-ton water containers and shipping them to Fukushima to fill with water. Is that the deal?
Yeah, those 262 giant tanks are actually, I think the figure is 1,000-ton water tanks, and the one that leaked 300 tons of its 1,000-ton capacity. But there's even smaller sized, and you're talking now not 262, but many hundreds of these tanks spreading onto the hillsides. They're building them and trying to keep up with this flood.
Amazing, amazing. This is a disaster of unimaginable proportions, and it's a disaster that could happen at any one of over 100 nuclear power plants in the United States, and in fact we have over 30 or over 50 nuke plants built in the same model as the Japanese. Which is it, Kevin? We've lost.
We have 23 identical designs and another 8 that are very similar.
Okay, thank you.
You're listening to Tom Hartman.